Today's world is chaotic, and you might be looking for more peace like myself. In today's video, we're going to be listening into why less is more and how it can lead to a simple life, and why a simpler life leads to inner peace. This is really important considering that peace comes from within. It's eternal, it's internal, so that means that we have to look inwards in order to have the access to peace. What's the vibe, tribe? Welcome back to Life Student Academy, where we review content that inspires, informs, and helps us to grow spiritually so that we can thrive in all areas of our lives. I've always heard the term less is more, and I felt that I've had a pretty profound concept and understanding of this term. However, I never related it to the magic of a simple life. Now, the meaning of the word simple is very subjective, but I think overall, many people have the concept that it means boring. So if we're talking about a simpler life, we're talking about a more boring life. However, I took the liberty to define this word for us really quickly before we get into the video. Simple in the Oxford Dictionary actually means easy, undemanding, manageable, and effortless, whereas the opposite of the word simple means hard, complicated, and demanding. So when you think about this word and attach it to your lifestyle, would you rather have a hard lifestyle or an easy lifestyle? A complicated lifestyle or uncomplicated lifestyle? A demanding lifestyle or more manageable and effortless lifestyle? When I looked up this definition, that changed my perspective immediately, and so I dove right into this 6-minute video, which we're about to do right now. But first, be sure that you have your handy dandy notebook so that we could take notes and study together at the end. Let's tune in.
Have you ever heard the phrase, less is more, and thought, well, that's confusing. How can having less of something actually mean having more? It's like saying, the less chocolate cake I eat, the more satisfied I feel, which sounds like a downright lie. But stick with me. There's a lot more to this simple idea than meets the eye, or, in our case, the stomach. The magic of less. Thinkers throughout history, from the ancient Greeks to modern minimalists, have sung the praises of simplicity. They argue that by cutting out the clutter, not just in our closets but in our minds and lives, we can actually find more happiness, freedom, and meaning. Epicurus was an ancient philosopher who loved simplicity. He believed that the key to happiness was enjoying simple pleasures. For him, a good day involved a loaf of bread, some water, and a nice chat with friends. No need for expensive wines or fancy dinners. He found joy in the simple things, like the taste of plain bread and the sound of laughter. In a way, Epicurus was the original less is more advocate. He thought that by limiting our desires and not craving luxurious things, we could find true happiness. You wouldn't find him scrolling through an ancient equivalent of Instagram, envying the rich and famous. He was too busy enjoying his simple meals and deep thoughts. The Stoics believed that true happiness comes from within, not from material possessions. They preached that by limiting our desires, we can avoid the pain of unfulfilled wants. After all, if you don't want much, you're never disappointed. They were like the ancient equivalent of those people who have their entire lives in one backpack and go on about how freeing it is. The Buddha also had a thing for simplicity. He taught about the middle path, which is all about finding balance, not going overboard with luxury, but also not living like a hermit. He left his royal life behind to discover that neither extreme luxury nor extreme austerity leads to happiness. Instead, he advocated for a life of moderation. Imagine Buddha at a buffet with endless options. He'd probably take a bit of salad, a scoop of rice, and a piece of fruit, just enough to enjoy, but not so much that he'd need a nap afterwards. The middle path is like choosing a practical, fuel-efficient car over a flashy sports car. You get where you need to go without the extra cost and stress. Many spiritual traditions advocate for a simple life as a path to inner peace and fulfillment. Whether it's the Buddhist practice of mindfulness, the Christian call to humility, or the Zen Buddhist concept of wabi-sabi, finding beauty in imperfection, simplicity is a common thread. It's about stripping away the unnecessary to focus on the essential. These teachings remind us that simplicity isn't just about decluttering our homes or schedules. It's also about decluttering our minds and hearts. It's about finding clarity and purpose and living in harmony with ourselves and the world around us. The philosophy of less is more teaches us that a simpler life is often a happier one. Modern minimalism. Minimalism isn't just about cleaning up, it's a way of life. It's about making space for what truly matters. Joshua Becker, a modern minimalist guru, says, "The first step in crafting the life you want is to get rid of everything you don't." It's like that moment when you finally delete all the old emails and feel a wave of calm. That's the minimalist dream, a calm, focused life with room to breathe and think. The truth is, our stuff often becomes a source of stress rather than joy. We worry about maintaining it, losing it, or whether we should have gotten a better model. It's like a bad relationship we can't break up with. Philosophers and psychologists alike argue that clutter doesn't just occupy physical space, it clogs up mental space too. It's hard to feel zen when you're tripping over random stuff and can't find your keys under a pile of who knows what. The simple life, in contrast, is like having a clean, open field to play in. There's room to breathe, think, and most importantly, to relax. The joy of JOMO. In our hyper-connected world, we often hear about FOMO, or the fear of missing out. But have you heard of JOMO? It's the joy of missing out. Yes, you read that right. The joy of not cramming your schedule with endless events, the relief of not keeping up with every new gadget, and the happiness of just being. So, let's take a cue from the great philosophers, both ancient and modern, and try to live a little lighter. After all, life's too short to be buried under stuff, obligations, and unnecessary stress. Let's laugh more, love more, and, why not, own less. And don't forget to sometimes use the phrase, "No thank you. I'm enjoying the sunshine." That's it for now. Thanks to everyone who watched. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more new content. See you next time.
The first step of crafting the life that you want is by getting rid of everything that you don't want. Wow, I really love the gems dropped in this video. I also love the tie between history and the present day. Like, they spoke about the ancient Greeks and their new thoughts around simplicity, and then also today's modern minimalism, which is a common practice for many. I also appreciated hearing more about the philosopher Epicurus. I actually see his name a lot in many of the books that I read that has quotes in it. And he believed that the key to happiness was enjoying simple pleasures. I'm sure that we can go inside of our mind somewhere and find a moment in time that brought us pleasure, that wasn't something that we can hold in our hand in particular, or that we can see, hear, smell, taste, or touch. It might have been a part of the experience, but ultimately it was probably a larger experience that brought that thing into some of the other parts that made that pleasurable for us. Extreme luxury does not lead to happiness. I mean, I love the analogy that they gave about cars. Now, we can have a sports car, or we can have what we call in New York a hoopty, which is a used car that can get us from point A to point B. And ultimately, getting to our destination is actually the most important rather than the vehicle that we are getting to that destination in. I mean, I don't even own a car. So as long as I could get to work by using a bus or a train, I am definitely happy and find satisfaction in the fact that I'm able to achieve my ultimate goal. I even appreciate the playfulness around our consumption through eating. I think about French fries, right? Like, can't just have one French fry. You gotta have as many as possible. Sometimes we even find that we overeat into dissatisfaction, meaning that we're uncomfortable with how much we ate, although while we were eating, it just seemed so delicious, like we needed more. But in actuality, the ultimate goal is to satisfy hunger or a craving. And so, as long as you can have some, maybe not all, or maybe not more, we'll find satisfaction eventually, and we'll also be able to get over any humps that we have through cravings. I don't know about you all, but lately I have been having this urge to purge, and I've been listening to conversations of those around me, and I find that other people are experiencing some of the similar things. Like, you really just want to declutter your home and get rid of things. This is actually the ultimate time to begin to do that because spring is coming up next, and of course, we coined this term called spring cleaning, which is the process of decluttering. Now, something mentioned in this video is that we don't only want to focus on decluttering the physical things like out of our closets or out of our cabinets, but I do think that the tie is important to what happens mentally when we declutter physically. We ultimately have less to worry about, less to manage or maintain, less to protect or prevent from being missing or misplaced. And we can think about it like, I love the feeling and the simple pleasure of knowing where my keys and my Metro card is when I need them. The last thing I want to do is have to search all around for them because they're stuck underneath stuff or misplaced because I just have so many places to put it that it can become misplaced. The practice of meditation also helps to declutter thoughts. Thoughts that continue to resurface in our minds also needs to be cleared for space of the things that we do want to live there. We have to cultivate the mindset that we want to have by placing more positive thoughts or even more helpful thoughts into this space. But first, we got to make way for it. So that means that we have to declutter our minds in order to have and cultivate the space that we want to have in our minds. Ultimately, this video led me to think about what some of my simple pleasures are, and I'm challenging you to do the same. But I'm gonna offer what some of mine are as I wrote them down. Like, some of my simple pleasures is the sound of laughter, spending time with family and friends, having deep conversations, playing with Mamba when I can, the smell of laundry detergent and fabric softener, and walking past a few flowers like a sweet iris that fills the air outside and gives me a sense of peace and calm. Feeling rose petals. Or my niece has like this squishy cheese thing that I brought her for Christmas. Oh, and it feels so good. It's so therapeutic. What a simple pleasure and brings so much joy. Please drop it down in the comments. What are some of your simple pleasures? I want to hear. And speaking of joy, one of the things that I absolutely loved in this video is probably my favorite part because I've never heard of this before now is JOMO. Everyone talks about FOMO, the fear of missing out. However, JOMO, the joy of missing out, I can truly appreciate this, especially now that I'm a bit older and I actually enjoy staying inside a lot more than I used to. There is something about plans being canceled that feels so good to me. Please drop it down in the comments if you've experienced this as well. Obviously, that would take a hint of already having not wanting to go to really experience the full joy of canceled plans. Like, I'm not talking about our birthdays or something that we were really excited for and then it gets rained out or canceled for some reason. I'm talking about the simple pleasures of unplugging from social media and not having to see all of the bad news that's happening around the world for a moment, or not being overwhelmed with someone else's lifestyle, supposedly, and then underwhelmed with ours because we're not living that lifestyle. Or quite frankly, we plan for things to go a certain way and they don't, but then we later find out why because hindsight is actually 2020. We have to wait for the experience to complete itself in order for us to figure out why it actually happened, and that in itself can bring us joy. Ultimately, we learned today that extreme luxury does not bring us happiness. Happiness is internal as well. Joy lives there, and so does peace. And we want to keep life more simple. We want to practice less is more so that we have more access to joy, peace, and pleasure because it's not cluttered and blocked by all of the other things that's happening in here and ultimately out here. Also, knowledge is power, but knowledge is powerful when in action. Let me know down in the comments what you're gonna do to make your life more simple. I actually have a plan this weekend to declutter and get rid of some things. That way I can get rid of it in my mind and not have to focus on it. I'm also gonna declutter some of my storage space. Thank you, Mac, for reminding me that I need to do that. And I'd love to hear what you're going to do to assimilate these practices and these gems for yourself. And with that, my friends, please be sure to leave your gems, what you picked up from this video, inside of the comment box below or anything else. I look forward to responding to those comments. I look forward to reviewing and studying more content like this with you all. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you know when I drop my next video. And I'll see you next time. Peace. Peace.